By the way, it didn't start off like this. When Mostafa's defense attorney,
shouldn't a lawyer just go into court and say, I have a motion that I want to file, and just put it on the docket? Why do they have to go through the judge's chambers?
Why does he have to fight his way to get to the SD cards, to get an independent expert?
Just to get a hearing.
That's crazy.
He has to fight to get a hearing.
That's crazy.
And I think we all know why there's so much pushback from this county, from the prosecutors, from the judge. There's so much pushback on specifically this issue with the SD card. It's because you're going to play an audio for us today.
We're going to get to the bottom of it.
That is going to show us why this prosecutor is terrified. She's terrified.
I mean, they're scrambling now.
They're scrambling.
They are. The county is scrambling.
Terrified because somebody's going to come in.
They know what Chad Mason did.
They know what Chad Mason did. We're going to listen to what Chad Mason said he did. Okay.
I mean, this is his own testimony. He got on the stand. And then Officer Zaima's digital forensic got on the stand. You know, my question to Mostafa's previous defense attorney is when you listen to this proceeding, and by the way, before we get into that, Judge Carol Weimer is comfortable because he's got Sheriff Glenn Hill, who rolls in a giant machine that will scan you from head to toe. And they're terrified that maybe, just maybe, that someone might record. May I remind everybody, this is a public hearing. A public hearing. What are they so terrified in the Mostafa Aljazairy proceeding that is going to be said that this community might hear, and they're going to get to find out what they're doing behind closed doors? I mean, you have a sheriff that blocks anybody from recording. I mean, only in Mostafa Aljazairy case, you have a machine that gets rolled into the door.
Interesting.
You have a case that's sealed off from the community. I mean, they're getting away with everything because the case is sealed. I mean, this community doesn't know what's going on. The case is sealed. Amy Ashworth, after a year and a half, only released 4 seconds of an edited, deformed dash camera on NBC4. That dash camera that's being played out on NBC4 is an edited version from the dash camera, by the way. They edited the dash camera and then released it. They would rewind it, fast forward, rewind, fast forward. They took this dash cam out of context. Now, the only piece of information that this community knows is that, and that's it.
Is what the prosecutor
puts out. It's what the prosecutor puts out. And what she puts out is an edited version of a dash camera.
You know what I find really interesting is how come Julie Carey covered Mostafa's bond hearing, but she didn't cover what Chad Mason said on the stand when he said, yes, I violated department policy, so what?
That's a very good question.
Where is Julie Carey on this? She tells the community that this dash cam, according to the police, has no audio. But she doesn't tell the community that the primary investigator who handled the dash cam admitted that he plugged it into his laptop, did not follow chain of custody, and from his own mouth said, I violated department policy. And he's proud of it. Why is he proud of it?
You know, I'll tell you.
I mean, that's jailable offense. Tampering with evidence, that's punishable by jail. Okay?
Of course.
And anybody that is attached to this behavior is an accessory.
By the way, they never expected it to get this far. They thought,
that's true.
This proceeding is happening behind closed doors. The sheriff rolls in a machine. No one knows what goes on inside the proceeding. So when Chad Mason gets on the stand and he's so comfortable telling the judge that I violated department policy, and here today you have a dash camera that does not have audio, it's cut before impact, 17 frames are missing from the camera facing inside because this case is sealed and no one is going to find out what is going on.
To your point, when you want a transcript out of court, you contact the court's court reporter, and you say, I'd like the transcript from this hearing, that hearing. By the way, this is a felony.
Then why is Mostafa defense attorney doesn't even have the transcript?
You mean, why does he have to file a motion to get the transcript? What's the big deal with getting the transcript? Why do you have to go through a judge in order to get transcripts? Usually this is public information. You contact the court's reporter, and you say, I'd like the hearing from this case, and they just send it to you. But in this case, the lawyer has to file a motion in order to get the transcripts.
Well, when you find out what's in these proceedings,
Unbelievable.
You'll understand what's going on in the Mostafa Aljazairy
Unbelievable.
case.
They've sealed the transcripts.
I mean, here's the bottom line. This case, Mostafa Aljazairy case, the vehicle is crushed and staged. I mean, I have evidence that the police department crushed and staged Mostafa's vehicle. This dash camera is cut and muted. And what you're going to find out, I have the audio to the proceeding where the investigator is admitting to violating department policy and tampering with this dash camera. Now, they're in trouble because Mostafa has a new defense attorney that's pushing for hiring an independent expert that's going to go in and inspect the SD card. Now that we have evidence that this investigator violated department policy with handling the dash camera, it's cut, muted, frames are missing from it. The defense attorney is hiring an independent expert, is filing a motion to inspect the SD card. The county is terrified.
The car, by the way.
And inspect the car. Reconstruct this vehicle accident. Now, the county is terrified because they know what Chad Mason did. Chad Mason cut this dash camera, muted this dash camera, took possession of the SD card, and
he cut the wire to make it look like
now
the wire was cut during the accident. But here's the thing.
Now here's the deal. The independent expert is going to get to the bottom of it because when he inspects the SD card, there's something called the metadata on the SD card. You're going to find out if this SD card was tampered by investigator Chad Mason. And if he just downloaded the content and then edited the files, then you should be able to download the full dash camera with audio.
Okay. Before we go into the audio, I just want to touch base on two things. So from this hearing, we find out, from this hearing that we're going to listen to, we find out that Chad Mason took the dash cam prior to obtaining the warrant. And what I find really, really interesting is there's photos of them cutting up the car days after, I think it was after Mostafa's initial hearing, right?
Yeah.
And what you see in those photos is the dash cam is still attached to the windshield, which means that Chad Mason took this dash cam off the windshield, did whatever he did with it, tampered with it, plugged it into his laptop, did everything he wanted to do with it, and then physically went back and plugged it back into the broken windshield.
When you hear the audio,
and he clipped it back onto the windshield as if like it's never been touched.
By the way, when you hear the audio of what he said on the stand, he said exactly that he took the dash camera, took the SD card, went back to his vehicle, downloaded
whatever
the files, whatever he wanted, and he had 2 days before he got the warrant. Took the dash camera and then went and put it back into the vehicle.
That's crazy. If you pull up the picture of the dash cam attached to the windshield, it's crazy to think that he pulled this thing off the broken windshield, did whatever he did with it, and then went back into the police impound and reattached it as if like it's never been touched. I mean, they're taking photos of it like, let's preserve this crime scene.
You know, my question is for Blake Weiner, Mostafa, previous defense attorney. Now, you went through a motion to dismiss, and you brought Chad Mason and put him on the stand, and you asked him a number of questions. You brought in digital forensic, Cassie Zymans, who admit there is audio, and you put her on the stand and asked her a question. Once you found out...
And Drum,
and you put him on the stand, and you didn't ask him... We'll get to it. You didn't ask him the most crucial piece of the question, the most important question. We'll get to it. Now... When you found out that this investigator tampered with the dash camera, wouldn't it make sense that your next move is to hire an independent expert and inspect the SD card that's in question? Instead, he turns around, and I think Mostafa was scheduled for trial within 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, Mostafa, you are coming home. We don't need your evidence. We're going to go to trial. Mostafa, you're coming home. What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, you have an officer that's telling you I tamper with the dash camera, and you're going to walk Mostafa into trial without inspecting the SD cards, getting the full dash camera, without the audio, without getting the full dash camera. Now that you know that it's on the SD card, without reconstructing the vehicle,
By the way, another thing.
without putting the home videos on the record. There's Google Nest videos inside the apartment.
You know, another thing I want to add is when these three are testifying, Zymus, Chad Mason, and Robert Drum, when they're testifying, I mean, isn't it protocol to have whoever is testifying leave the courtroom so that they don't hear the testimony of the person being cross-examined?
I am so shocked, and
Why-
I am so shocked when I'm listening to the proceeding.
Why
Listen,
did the judge not instruct the other so-called witnesses to leave Chad Mason and Zymus when Drum was testifying? Why did nobody leave?
because
when-
they're staging the whole thing.
Because they want to hear what this person is saying so they can all corroborate their story.
mean-
and to that point, Kathy Zymus changes her testimony halfway.
Halfway through, she changes her testimony.
She says one thing. She says that she doesn't think that this dash cam lost audio because Chad Mason plugged it in. And then later changed it to, oh, maybe it did lose audio. It's almost like they're providing cover for each other.
Why was she there listening to Chad Mason?
Exactly. That's
You
the real
have
question.
Blake Weiner.
Why did the judge not instruct these people to leave the courtroom when they're testifying? And the real answer is because they have a giant metal detector machine at the door. They have an X-ray machine, and they don't expect anybody to hear what's happening behind these closed doors.
I mean, think about what was going to happen in 2 weeks after that proceeding.